Terminator 2D No Fate is not a game that tries to surprise you by being different. Instead, it surprises you by being confident, confident in its genre, confident in its difficulty, confident in its identity, and confident in the idea that sometimes the best way to honor a legendary film is not by modernizing it, but by translating its spirit into pure mechanical clarity. This is a game built on intent. Every design choice feels deliberate, every limitation feels chosen, not accidental, and in a landscape filled with bloated systems, endless upgrades, and cinematic excess, Terminator 2D No Fate stands out by doing something almost radical. It keeps things tight. Before talking about mechanics, visuals, or difficulty, it's important to understand the design philosophy behind Terminator 2D No Fate. This is not a cinematic action game, it is not a narrative heavy reinterpretation of Terminator 2, and it is not interested in accessibility above all else. This is a classic arcade style action game built around short bursts of intense gameplay, pattern recognition, and player mastery. It draws directly from late 80s and early 90s design sensibilities, an era where games assumed failure, repetition, and gradual improvement as part of the experience. The game does not explain itself extensively, it teaches through friction. You learn enemy behavior by being punished for misunderstanding it. You learn spacing by dying for standing in the wrong place. You learn patience by failing when you rush. This approach immediately filters its audience, and that's not a flaw, it's the foundation. One of the most important elements in any 2D action game is how the character feels to control, and Terminator 2D No Fate gets this right almost immediately. Movement has weight. Your character is responsive but grounded. Jumps commit you to arcs. Dodges are precise but limited. You cannot cancel every action, and that restriction forces intentional play. This weight is crucial because the game is built around threat management. You are constantly balancing aggression and survival. Overextending gets you killed. Hesitation gets you cornered. The game creates tension by limiting your options, not by overwhelming you with systems. There's a deliberate lack of modern crutches here. No invincibility spam, no auto-corrected positioning, no excessive forgiveness. The game trusts you to learn its language and rewards you when you do. Combat in Terminator 2D, No Fate is not about domination, it's about control. Enemies are designed to apply pressure rather than simply soak damage. Human enemies overwhelm through numbers and angles. Early machines introduce durability and inevitability. Later Terminator units force you to manage space, timing, and resource usage simultaneously. Shooting is satisfying but restrained. Weapons feel impactful without making you overpowered. Ammunition and health matter. Every firefight becomes a small tactical puzzle. Where can you stand? What can you afford to trade? And when is retreat the smarter option? This design choice directly reflects the Terminator fantasy. You are not unstoppable. The machines are relentless, and victory often comes from surviving long enough rather than wiping the screen clean. Enemy variety is handled intelligently. The game introduces threats gradually, then combines them in ways that force adaptation. Early encounters teach fundamentals. Mid-game encounters test composure. Late-game encounters punish complacency. What's impressive is how enemies evolve in function rather than just statistics. Stronger enemies don't simply have more health, they change how you must engage. Some restrict movement, others pressure timing, others force prioritization under stress. The game understands escalation as complexity, not just difficulty. Levels in Terminator 2D No Fate are compact, purposeful, and tightly paced. There is very little wasted space. Every corridor, platform, and arena is placed to facilitate combat scenarios or tension build-up. The game uses verticality sparingly but effectively. Environmental hazards are integrated into encounters rather than tacked on. Backtracking is minimal. Momentum is carefully controlled. Most importantly, levels are structured around rhythm, combat spikes, brief breathers, escalation, release. This keeps the game engaging over long sessions without exhausting the player. It's old school pacing, done right. Boss fights in Terminator 2D No Fate deserve special recognition. These are not spectacle only encounters, they are mechanical exams. Each boss reinforces skills the game has already taught you: positioning, pattern recognition, patience, and timing. There are no cheap tricks, no unreadable attacks. When you lose, you know why. Bosses feel intimidating, not because they're unfair, but because they demand respect. You cannot brute force them, you must learn them. This design reinforces the game's core philosophy, mastery over momentum. Visually, the game commits fully to its retro aesthetic and executes it with discipline. Pixel art is detailed but readable. Animations are expressive without clutter. Enemy silhouettes are immediately identifiable. Environmental detail enhances atmosphere without interfering with gameplay clarity. The color palette leans into industrial blues, harsh reds, and cold metallic tones, reinforcing the Terminator identity. Future war segments feel bleak and oppressive. Urban environments feel dangerous and unstable. Nothing here feels accidental. The visuals serve the gameplay first, the nostalgia second. The soundtrack leans heavily into synth and industrial influences, echoing the DNA of Terminator 2's iconic score without directly copying it. Music builds tension during combat and pulls back during traversal. Sound effects have weight. Gunfire is sharp, impacts are heavy, mechanical enemies sound appropriately inhuman. Audio feedback reinforces danger. You hear threats before you see them. You feel hits through sound design alone. This adds to immersion and mechanical clarity simultaneously. Narratively, Terminator 2D, No Fate keeps things simple, and that's the right call. The game doesn't attempt to outright the film or expand the lore in major ways. Instead, it uses the Terminator universe as a framework for action scenarios that make sense mechanically. Story exists to motivate movement, not to interrupt it. Cutscenes are brief, dialogue is functional. The game understands that its strength lies in play, not exposition. This restraint is refreshing, especially for a licensed title. The game is challenging, unapologetically so. This will turn some players away, and that's understandable. But the difficulty is consistent, readable, and fair. It asks for attention and commitment, not perfection. Accessibility options exist, but they don't dilute the core experience. This is not a game trying to please everyone. It's trying to serve its intended audience well, and for that audience, it succeeds. Despite how strong the experience is, Terminator 2D No Fate does have limitations. Weapon variety is functional, but conservative. The game prioritizes consistency over experimentation. Some players may want more mechanical evolution over time. Narrative ambition is intentionally restrained, but this also means emotional depth remains surface level. Replay incentives are solid, but not expansive. The game relies more on mastery than on unlocks or branching content. These aren't failures, but they do cap the game's ceiling. Terminator 2D, No Fate is a disciplined, focused, and confident action game. It respects its source material, respects its genre, and respects the player's intelligence. It doesn't chase trends. It doesn't overextend. It does what it sets out to do, and does it well. This is not a reinvention of the Terminator franchise. It's a refinement of arcade action design through a Terminator lens. Final score, a tightly crafted, punishing, and deeply satisfying retro action experience that proves simplicity when executed with precision still wins. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like and subscribe for more gaming reviews. See you next time.